when you think of pre-Pixar animated films that is not Disney, you don't really get much when you really think about it. I mean, you got Don Bluth's classics, you got Fantasy Planet and all that, but mostly most of the big iconic animated films that are not Disney or early era Pixar are more in the 2000s and the 2010s with the likes of DreamWorks, Sony Pictures, and even Illumination and all that. Yeah. But the classics like Anastasia, Fantasy Planet, An American Tail, one of my personal favorites, and the subject for this video, FernGully, The Last Rainforest, they get overlooked a lot of the times. I mean, when you think of 90s animations, you think of the Disney Renaissance, you think of The Prince of Egypt, you think of Toy Story and all that, but you don't think of a film like this. And I'm gonna give my 2 cents on the whole matter. So, what do I think of the film? I think it's a really good film. I think it is a very well-told film. It has a core message underneath all of it that pretty much Disney wouldn't really tackle at all, especially early on in its lifespan and all that. So it's interesting to see a film, an animated film nonetheless, tackle stuff like environmental issues and trying to save the rainforest, trying to protect the planet from constant pollution, from constant human corporate greed and all that. It's a very bold and daring topic to handle in a kids film and all that. And I think it does handle this well with its villain being a physical embodiment of pollution, corruption, and destruction, or that literally him being a spirit of destruction. And I think it's handled very well with basically pollution being pure evil and all that, and I think it works for the message that it's going for it. But apart from that, it really feels like that the message as a whole is half-baked, and not all of it flows very well. I mean, the villain, he works, but he doesn't really have a personal vendetta against the main characters, whom really aren't impacted by him in a personal way, and more like an impersonal way. And that doesn't really work well with what the film is trying to go for. I mean, if you want to make a film like this, surely there's got to be some sort of more personal thing between the main hero and the main villain, because the main hero, Krista, she is only scared of him because, well, he's the evil pollution demon and all that. She doesn't really have much personal connection to him. If anything, her mentor is more connected to him because she locked him up. Yeah, there's spoilers, all that. I will put a spoiler alert before all this. Yeah, it really felt like that the story isn't as well told as it could have been if they really wanted to ham in the environmental message. I mean, it doesn't really feel like that there's much impact going on, especially considering the fact that the main film, the title is called FernGully, The Last Rainforest. And when you have a film like that with a title like that, you expect the Last Rainforest to be the last rainforest. Expect something like, oh, this is in a post-apocalyptic future where most of the rainforest is wiped out, and this is the last one, which is going to be protected and is under protection, all that, but certain events and certain twistings of manipulation and power, which could be corrupted by the main villain to gain his desires and all that. It's just something interesting like that. Last Rainforest, then corporate corruption is gonna swoop in and try to destroy all this for profit. But here, it just feels like it's one regular rainforest. It doesn't really feel like it's the last rainforest. And that's my biggest gripe with the entire film, because it doesn't really feel like it's final. It doesn't feel like that this needs to be protected. It obviously needs to be protected, much like nature itself, against corporate greed and corruption and humans with malicious intent. But But again, when it comes to a film like this with a title like this, it doesn't really have that sort of finality within it, and that's something that really doesn't help itself. And let alone with the environmental message, the final lines that the main love interest in this just literally says, "We have got a lot of changing here to do, guys," and that just hand fists the entire thing in the most unsubtle way. And I'm someone does not like subtle, who does not like unsubtle things in films at all. I mean, they could work, but when it comes to stuff like this, it does not work at all. So yeah, yeah, but yeah, honestly, if it was more, if the story was more tightly connected together, where it did feel like it was the last rainforest, and the spirits or the fairies of the trees are the only reason why this rainforest is still alive, then that would have been something, yeah. And then corporate corruption, greed, humans, and the evil spirit demon. His name's Hexus, by the way. Yeah, they're all coming in to try and destroy this rainforest, but word gets out there, and humans come in to try to stop this madness from ever happening. Yeah, again, yeah, it's more of a battle of good versus evil, nature versus man, and all that. And I think if it was more tightly connected towards that, as well as it be more respectful to the title, then it could have been something much better. Because half this film is just characters meandering back and forth, just debating on topics that didn't really need to be debated so many times, and it's the generic main character wants more out of life, wants to explore and all that. And unlike when it works in The Little Mermaid or any Disney Renaissance film and all that, it's fine in this, but it's not really suiting the plot and all that. Aside from shrinking a human down to fairy size, and then they got to have the romance and all that. And the romance in this is fine, I guess. It's as generic as you can get, and I'm saying that as someone who loves romance and all that. It doesn't really work and all that, because they literally just meet each other the same day. And unlike when it worked in Rapunzel or in Tangled, though really they met each other a day before, but still, unlike when it worked in Tangled, it doesn't really work here, because the romance is in the central part of the whole thing. If anything, the environmental message is more of the central part of the whole thing. Yeah. And really, the main relationship needs to be much more developed than just not at all. And Krista and Zach are fine, and Zach's not really all that interesting, except for his final line where it's just the on the nose line sort of thing. Yeah, it might seem like I'm complaining about this film and I don't really like it, but I do. But I like it. I do like it. It's a charming little flick. Yeah. Whilst it does need to be delved, the environmental message does need to be delved a lot deeper. It's charming, it's likable, the characters are interesting enough, and nobody really got on my nerves at all, and all that. So let's get into some of the more positive parts of the entire film. So yeah. Now, what can I say? Well, Robin Williams and Tim Curry in this film. What film could give us Tim Curry and Robin Williams? Only this film. Only this film. And somehow Robin Williams didn't steal the show. If anything, this is probably one of his more least interesting roles. And that's saying a lot because of how interesting Robin Williams as a person is. But this one doesn't really sell me on his character at all. If anything, you could include him and nothing would. You could change. You could move his role to some minor background character, but it's still, and nothing would change. He's literally the reason why Krista discovers the the tree chopping machine that frees Hexes and leads her to Zack and all that. That could have just been done with any other minor background character. Robin Williams' character didn't really need to be included in this, and his Bat's rap song isn't really that interesting. In fact, most of the songs aren't that interesting at all. The characters range from flat, not interesting, to Tim Curry. Let's talk about Tim Curry, shall we? Because this is probably the reason why everyone wants to watch this film one way or another. Yeah. Tim Curry plays the main villain Hexes, and he's this devilish diva sort of hunk of a pollution monster that I guarantee you is setting back and reversing environmental issues by 20 years just for the fact that it's Tim Curry playing a very sexy smoke monster. I'm being 100% serious right now. I've seen so many comments on YouTube videos and Letterboxd as well discussing about how much they're attracted to Tim Curry. I'm not, but I admire him very much. So yeah. And the best parts of the film is obviously when Hexus is on the screen and you get to hear Tim Curry's devilish sexual energy throughout this entire film. I mean, this is a film for kids, and yet they hired Tim Curry to play the main bad guy. So obviously it's going to be very, very sexual. And what more could people want from the guy who literally plays the transvestite villain that defined a generation and all that. And obviously, when you're talking about this guy, this villain, and Tim Curry and all that, you obviously have to talk about the villain song, which is one of the best villain songs I've ever heard, Toxic Love. I'm being serious right now. I've been listening to it in the car multiple times for the past 2 weeks or however long it's been since I first watched this film, and it is amazing. And just, well, it's Tim Curry. He has an amazing singing voice. He's an amazing actor. I highly respect him and all that. Even though I will say this, I do not like the Rocky Horror Picture Show, but I will say that Frankenfurter is one of the best parts of the film, and I respect Tim Curry a lot in that role. So yeah. yeah, this is one of his best roles, obviously, and he just has the slimy, sinister, devious, villainous energy about him that just makes you love him in a way that so many other iconic villains just does so easily. There is so much more I could talk about this film, especially Tim Curry, especially the villain song, and a lot more of how I think the environmental message didn't really work as well as it did for me, even though it is a good portrayal for kids. Yeah, and to be honest, I feel like this could be due to a remake with a tighter script, a more stronger emphasis on the themes, and a more developed version of the story, the characters, and the relationships would suit this film to really make us understand the urgency of saving the environment, whilst also keeping a devilish, sexy villain like Hexus. Although, unfortunately, I do not know how or if they will ever try to top Tim Curry at all, because, well, no one can. It's like Robin Williams and Will Smith sort of vendetta. You can't top the original. So yeah, overall, I think this is a solid 8. I think this is a solid 7 out of 10. A really well done film with really great elements in this, with some not as great elements within this as well. I think this is a must-watch film for anyone who wants to see early animation, pre-Pixar, and not Disney and all that. So yeah, I definitely recommend this. It's on Amazon Prime. It's free to stream. Well, in the UK actually, so I don't know where anywhere else, but it is free to stream on Amazon Prime in the UK. So yeah, check it out if you want to, and let me know what you think. So yeah. Anyways, that's the end of today's video. For one, this is something new which I'll definitely be continuing a lot more, because I think these more straight to forward contained movie reviews is something that I think I should be doing a lot more. Yeah, please So yeah, please tell me what you think and leave a comment down below what films I should watch in the future, what films I should review in the future. I have a ton to say about so many films. Please. Anyways, that's the end of today's video, everyone. I want to say thank you very much for watching, and I will see you later. Have a good one.